With everybody that this is okay. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. My name's Carolyn LePan. I've probably played with several of you out there. My husband Jack, everybody knows Jack, everybody knows Avon. Avon's somewhere around here too. So my family's either here or at home because we love pickleball and this club. And Kristen and Brennan know what I do. And I said, I want to bring this to your club. And because you see these, like Lifetime has a health and wellness aspect to it. So I said, let's bring this to Brighton Pickleball. So I am a functional nutrition, sports nutrition practitioner. And I'm a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. So sports medicine, and I'm also a psychologist. I have a license in psychology, so I've been doing this for a while. My company is called Satori CL. So are you familiar with the term functional nutrition, functional medicine? It's kind of a newer, okay. It's very similar to integrative medicine, holistic medicine. So it's root cause resolution. It's not necessarily for acute issues, but it's more of chronic disease prevention. So that's a lot of what I do with my clients. And today we're going to talk about specifically around recovery, the importance of recovery, what happens. Then we'll talk about nutrition, sleep, gut health, inflammation, a lot of stuff. And I could talk about any one of those for like an hour straight. So there will be more of these sessions to come. Kristen wanted to be here, a couple other people, but definitely agree that there's a need for this and something I love to do. So this is just my disclaimer that I'm not a medical doctor. I'm giving general advice to the group today. Okay, I'm not going to read that. So I thought we could start with, and we can make this interactive too. If you have questions, feel free to interrupt me. This is for you, and I want you to walk away with tips and hacks or whatever you want to call them that you can start doing today. So why recovery matters. Oftentimes people think about, the prep before the workout and recovery, maybe if I have time, or like sleep at the end of the day when I have time, if I feel like it, not important if I miss it. It's kind of counterintuitive. It's often the after activity that's the most important. So that's why I'm deliberately starting with recovery. So why this is important? Because that's when we get stronger. That's when our muscle builds, is during the recovery, not during the workouts, okay? As we age, we need more muscle. Our muscles decline, our bones get weaker. We have to intentionally intervene with that natural process that our bodies have, okay? So when I get into the nutrition part, we'll talk about the macros, carbs, the fats, the proteins, things like that. And again, I hear the air kicking. If you want to adjust the temperature, go ahead and do that. So anyways, what we need to deliberately do is focus on building muscle, focus on supporting our body by having protein, amino acids, things like that, reducing inflammation, and then having those rest days. So recovery is definitely a key part of it. So the pillars, I kind of touched on this, the nutrition, hydration. I definitely recommend, look good, looks like everybody has a drink in here. Carbs, protein, fluids, salts. So electrolytes, I usually have a packet every day. I know there's some downstairs, so Liquid IV is a good one. Element is a good one that I have at home. Sleep and rest, aim for 8 to 10 hours. Usually they say 7 to 9. I put 8 to 10 up here, hoping that people get 8 hours. If you don't have good sleep, you could have the best diet in the world, the best workout routine in the world. If you don't have good sleep, everything kind of falls apart. So sleep is key. For the athletes that I work with, I require them to have an Oura ring. So this is something I look at. I want to see their HRV when they're sleeping. It tells me if that's about to drop. It tells me they're getting sick. It tells me they're overtraining. So there's a lot. Heart rate variability. Yeah. So that's measured in the Oura. It's OURA. Yeah. And actually, I'm an ambassador for them, so I can get discounts if that's something you want to pursue. But anyway, so yes, you can measure that through this. You can measure that through, I think the latest Apple Watch does that as well. There's certain apps, things like that. So, but yes, a lot happens while we're sleeping. And then nervous system recovery. So when you're working out, exercising, or even just the day-to-day stuff that we deal with, there's so many stressors that cortisol levels are higher than they've ever been, right? And if we have cortisol levels high, then there's a lot of other functions in our body that's trying to do that can't get done. Because whenever cortisol is present, cortisol will win. So if you're trying to relax at the end of the day, your melatonin's supposed to be kicking in. If cortisol is high, cortisol always wins. So, okay, so carbs, important before workout and after. So if I'm coming to play pickleball and I know I'm gonna play like really hard, so if I'm doing King of the Court, or a tournament, 4 hours before, I'll have a full meal, okay? By full meal, I'll talk about this later, but like my plate, I would say about half is veggies and then quarter protein, quarter starches. And just because I say half veggies, that doesn't mean 50% of the whole caloric is veggies. It's just spatially, that's what you want to look for. So I'll do that 4 hours before. 3 hours before, I'll have a carb snack, maybe pretzels, something like that. 2 hours before is, 2 hours before is when I'll really hydrate heavy. So, and then 1 hour before I start to do some light stretching. Now that's, obviously that's a lot of time. If you're coming from work, that's not really feasible. But, if it's a tournament, that's what I would do. That's what I tell, my son to do. So, protein. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of people skip breakfast, and I did that for years too, just because I wasn't hungry. I'd have my coffee and I would just move on with my day. I would say, especially for women, it's good to have food as soon as we wake up, because for us, our cortisol's high, and which we normally want in the morning. Our cortisol gets a bad rap. Cortisol is our get up and go and get things moving and get things done. So when we wake up, we want cortisol high. As it goes down, as it goes through the day, we want it to dip off and decline, okay? So cortisol's high in the morning. Melatonin's low in the morning. So these two pass like ships in the night during the day. So at the end of the day, ideally, cortisol's low, melatonin's high, we can relax.
So basically, when we wake up, our cortisol is high, so eating helps to lower the cortisol?
Yes. Eating helps to lower it because we're coming off of a fast. And that's another topic I could talk about for days, is intermittent fasting. But it lowers the cortisol, and then it'll lower our insulin. So what we want to do is have even from like a weight perspective, if we're going to have carbs in the day, we want to have that earlier in the morning, because as the day progresses, then we become more insulin resistant. So, and then we talked about fluids. Salt helps with regulation of sodium, potassium. Those are very important. If you're ever out there like feeling dizzy, it could be because either your blood sugar's dropped or your sodium and potassium are off. So when you think of things like insulin or blood sugar or cortisol, like those are all hormones, right? So we think of cortisol, insulin, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. That's 5. There's about 195 more. So we have 200 hormones in our body, and they control everything. So I can actually order tests that look at your cortisol at 5 points throughout the day. So I have clients where it shows me, okay, yeah, clearly cortisol is high in the morning, dips off again, and then it spikes. So I'm like, are you working late at night? Are you stressed out? Is your mind racing at night? It could be like my baseball players who have night games. I would expect that from them. That's normal. But other people, it's a good metric. Okay, so here's just an example of a recovery meal. So I kind of talked about my pregame, my 4, 3, 2, 1. This is just an example of a recovery meal. We want to have protein, not a ton. 4 ounces of chicken. That's not huge. A cup of rice, any fruit, a little bit of sugar, and then some fluids.
When's this recovery meal? Is this after you get through playing?
Yes.
At an event? After you do a physical event?
Yes. Thank you for asking. That would be.
So going to the bar and having 3 beers is not.
Well, it's not a very effective recovery. Mentally, you might think, Yeah, so this is good. This is what your body will soak up like a sponge. I mean, is it something that, people that I do every single time after workout? It's not. And I tell my clients, I said, I don't strive to be perfect. I don't expect my clients to be perfect. I mean, you still got to have a piece of birthday cake or whatever, you still got to enjoy life. So this is not a every single time you have to do it, but more times than not, I want this to be a priority. Because again, we're all, no one's getting any younger, and we need this for our cellular health.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said a fruit. Why a fruit versus a veggie?
The sugar. Yeah, a little bit of sugar.
Also, can I ask about salt? You listed salt under the drinks.
Uh-huh.
Like, does an electrolyte drink contain salt, and that's why
It does.
if I'm not using electrolytes, is there another way to sum that?
You'd be surprised at how many things have salt in them,
yeah,
even without intentionally trying to.
And I've been trying to avoid it, so that's like it's
Yeah.
not the same as having salt in the carbs and protein, right?
No, it could be in your food, like pretzels, nuts, things like that. If someone's on like blood pressure medication, then yeah, I would have a conversation about how much sodium to have. But if this is recovery, then I'm implying that it was after a hard workout and someone's sweating a lot, so they're losing that salt. That's sort of replenishing it. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so salt in the meal is, I guess, desired.
Yeah, so if I go back like to this, for example, if it's in the meal, yes, it's fine. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, like you could have a glass of water, and exclude the salts and electrolytes if you're having a little, like this looks seasoned, right? So there's probably salt on that chicken. Yeah.
Is the timing of your recovery meal important?
It is. So depending on, like typically about 30 to 60 minutes after. Like I don't do it immediately right after. I wait a little bit, but I would try to not wait more than an hour. And sometimes too, oh, I don't have my bag with me. I have a protein shake that if I'm just on the go, I'll have that. And so the protein I like, it's called Slate. It's SLATE. I buy it off Amazon. You can get it off of, there's different flavors, things like that. So, and you'll see later, like, whenever possible, I want myself, my clients to get it from food, right? As opposed to a protein shake, as opposed to supplements, things like that.
Are you saying if you were going to play before noon, would you further ahead to play early and then have a meal, or have oatmeal and then go play?
So if I were playing at noon, I would have a large breakfast. Okay, so what time am I playing?
9:30.
Okay, so 9:30, I would have, probably two.
Light before you play, and then have the meal after.
I would probably have 2 eggs at 7:30. Yeah. And then, maybe 30 minutes before, just like a bite of something. So here's just some on-the-go options. It's a good kind of mix of, and I can, if you want, you can take a picture of this, or I could send this to you. I guess I could ask Kristen is it okay if I ask her for your emails? I'm sure she has them on file. Okay. All right. So sleep just impacts everything. It impacts your immune system. It impacts your, brain focus activity. So when we sleep, we go through 4 different phases. This is another thing I look at on sleep metrics. Let's say I have a poor night's sleep. Let's say last night I had a poor night's sleep. And today I go out and I have a burger and fries for lunch. My gut will say, okay, those fries kind of look like a vegetable, I think, what resembles a vegetable. I'll do what I can with it, absorb what I can out of those fries. My nutrient absorption will be less than had I slept better the night before. So that impacts, when I have a bad night's sleep, my immune system is in overdrive. So it's saying, okay, Carolyn's weak, we got to protect her, we have to be on alert, things aren't right. So when my immune system is heightened, my digestion is not important. Yeah. Naps help. I'm a fan of naps.
Me too.
Really, sign me up. Yeah.
So, I'll go on 5 to 7 hours sleep, and then sometime during the week or within 2 weeks, I'll sleep 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's not ideal, but as much as I try, I can't seem to regulate that to 7 to 9 hours.
There's some people, they're just like, say exactly what you said. I've been doing this for years. Yeah.
I wake up early.
Do you wake up alert?
After a cup of coffee.
Okay.
So no.
After chemical intervention, sure.
I hear you. Nobody gets 7. I
Yeah.
have to have that cup of coffee as a routine from
Sure.
4:30 for my career.
Okay. Sure.
So
Yeah.
I have a hard time regulating in retirement
Mm-hmm.
a good patterns.
Are you going to bed at the same time every day?
I try.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a slide about, right here. So consistency, trying to go to bed. I see these words and then I just like talk on my, but yeah, consistency, going to bed at the same time every day, having a nighttime routine, not having your phone in your face up until, the minute you go to bed. That's, yeah, having blue light. So blue light, the reason they call it that is it keeps you awake. So when I see my screen, I have a pineal gland right here that produces melatonin. So it's going through my eyes to this pineal gland, and the blue light is saying it's not nighttime. It's time to stay up. So my brain doesn't like, our brains don't like blue light. There's, yeah, nighttime mode.
Without watching ASMR before I go to bed.
How can you fall asleep watching TV then?
You can easily get in the habit though. People do. They need that.
To turn on the red, the redness up on your phone to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's like a night mode. Yeah, it's like there's like a couple settings, and I do all three of them. So I'm like.
Okay.
I get
I love it. So I was just gonna say, our brains don't like blue at night. They like red, orange, pink. And if you think of it, like that's a sunset is like pretty pink, pretty orange. Like a fire is orange and red. And I mean, though that calms us where blue doesn't. Yeah.
I put my phone in the nightstand and close it because I don't care how much you do the settings, you still get things that come through.
Mm-hmm. Do not
And
listen.
I do that at a certain time every night. It goes in there, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because, you're not waking me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple of color changing bulbs and I keep them on red. Really?
Nice. Okay.
But I still have the habit.
So what, you have these lights on before you're getting ready to go to bed?
Yeah, I put them on.
You wind it down?
Yeah.
I can't sleep on 5 hours no matter what. I went to bed at 9 o'clock, I wake up at 2 o'clock. I'm
Really?
ready to go.
Really?
I sleep, yeah, I can't sleep. I have trouble 5 or 6 hours myself.
5 or 6.
Okay. We'll do a whole session on just sleep.
I'm curious if you know any. I don't know if there's science behind it, but anecdotally, it seems like men seem to require less sleep than women. I don't know. I've heard that. I don't know if the research is there to support it, but men just require less sleep than women.
Yeah. I would say, and I actually have this later too. It's like a lot of times we overcomplicate things, and if you go back to how we lived for like thousands and thousands of years before all these conveniences, yeah, I think men have always needed less sleep. I think for women, it's also we have so many more hormones changes. But yeah, I mean, I would say that's true of Jack and I. Like, I need more sleep. Yeah. Okay, so nervous system. So this is getting back to sleep. So we have two sides of our nervous system, and when we're stressed out during the day, either not eating enough or exercising too much or not enough, trouble falling asleep, all of these things, our nervous system goes back and forth all day long between the fight and flight and the rest and digest. So having some sort of schedule, going to bed at the same time every day, getting out in the morning for morning sunlight is huge. At the angle that on the horizon it goes in our eyes helps melatonin production. Being under lights in the evening is bad. We want to have like the red light, I love that idea, or lamps that are more eye level that helps us calm down. So all of these little hacks that we can do during the day. So this is you've heard the fight or flight, rest and digest, right? So if I'm stressed, so I'm, say, on that side, my body doesn't know if I'm like somebody's driving a ball at me or if there's a bear coming at me. So my body interprets the same thing. Pupils expand, breathing shallow, heart rate's faster, my gut shuts down. Okay? So this could be stress. This could be relationship stress, financial stress, work, whatever. You know, if we're driving and you almost get hit, this turns on like that. This is what has helped us survive evolutionarily. And then the opposite is true once that turns off. So we go back and forth throughout the day, right, between these two. But if someone is stressed all the time, you wonder why you have gut issues, right? Because your gut isn't working. If I'm stressed all the time, my body's saying, okay, well, I don't have the resources to break down this sandwich that she just ate. Or fertility is another big factor. You know, if I'm stressed all the time, should it be easy for me to get pregnant? Like, should I bring another person in this world if I'm like can't handle myself? So those are all, there's this delicate balance between both sides of this. So doing things like prioritizing sleep, nutrition, exercise, all the things we're talking about, can make a huge difference in just adjusting that dial. So that's a lot of what I do is like lifestyle stuff too with people, because there's just a lot we can do throughout the day that doesn't, you know, we don't want to wait until, okay, now we're out of you know, range on our A1C, and okay, now we got to back that down. And it's like when I look at blood work and I see trends of glucose going up or insulin or, you know, traditional doctors might say, okay, you're fine. As long as you're in range, you're fine. Well, there's a functional range that I look at. So the wide range is like this, that applies to men, women, all ages. My range is here. So if you're out of my range, but within your doctor's range, I want to address it. This is a great book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Because if a zebra is getting chased by a lion, it's going to end real quick in one of two ways. Say the zebra gets away. 2 minutes later, it's getting a drink from a brook and relaxing. Goes on with its day. A zebra's not going to go at night to its zebra friends and say, you wouldn't believe this lion that chased me, and hold a grudge for 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. So zebras don't get ulcers because their cortisol goes up and comes down, and up and down. Ours goes up and it stays up. So people can be in that situation for decades sometimes, and they get comfortable with it. And people, I'm like, how long has your back hurt? My back's hurt for 20 years. Okay. So people can just get used to that. All right, we're halfway through. So recovery, recovery mistakes, I intentionally put at the top of the list, trusting supplements more than real food. Whenever possible, I want people to get their supplements, or I call it medicine. Food is medicine. Their nutrients in food. And then where there's deficits, we can supplement. That's by true definition of the word supplement. It should be when things are exactly not the primary. Skipping food, I'm not hungry, big mistake. Only drinking water after heavy sweating, big mistake. Skipping rest days and not taking sleep seriously. Just a comment on heavy sweating. If someone is sweating heavily, they're releasing toxins, right? Which is a good thing. I keep my eye on my athletes, because if they're sweating for 45 minutes, an hour, I'm very mindful of that, because after, on average, 20-ish minutes of that, now they're starting to lose minerals. That's where the sodium comes in, the potassium, the calcium, and all those other things. So another reason why prior it's important to hydrate and during. But people think, oh, I sweat, for an hour every day. Well, there's some benefits to that in the up front, but then after that, just be mindful of replenishing. The other thing too is if you're sweating a lot and your shirt is drenched, change your shirt, because once you dry off, you're just going to absorb that stuff your toxins that came out of your skin. They're still there. They dry on your skin. You're going to absorb it. Yeah. Yeah. So good. These are things.
Me feel really gross right now.
Right. Excuse me.
I'm not shaking your no.
Yeah. Well, and like I said at the beginning, I want you to walk away from here with little hacks and things that you can start doing now and tell all your friends. All right. So I think this is about to wrap this up on the recovery piece. So it's not an extra, it's a part of your training. Make a schedule. If it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, work hard, enjoy your Tuesday, Thursday off, whatever that is. Choose a habit to start. The sleep. I like stacking. So stacking, when you're trying to implement a new habit, we call it habit stacking. So if, I get up and you said you have coffee in the morning. I have coffee in the morning too. So here's another hack. When you get up in the morning, instead of going straight to coffee, straight to tea, straight to water, I want you to go to the bathroom and swish and spit 2 or 3 times. The reason for that is because when you swish water in your mouth, swish water and spit. So as we're sleeping, bacteria is growing in our mouth all night long. So if you just go straight for coffee or water, you're just going to ingest all of that bacteria into your gut. So swish and spit, get that out, and then you can enjoy your coffee.
How effective is swishing and spitting compared to using a tongue scraper?
You can do tongue scraper, water pick, toothbrush, brush your teeth, any of that. Yeah, I have a. It's like a pressure. It's like a pressurized little hose.
I've heard that
You think you can brush your teeth and you water pick the garbage?
like you should eat, or at least I make my mom drink 16 to 20 ounces of water before she has her coffee, because I've heard it's bad.
I love it.
I don't drink coffee, so I just drink water, but I've heard it's bad to have it right away in the morning.
Yes. So on that subject, water first to hit your stomach is great. Water with a little lemon, maybe a little dash of salt is really good too, because that will kickstart your stomach acid. So that's a good thing. In a perfect world, having coffee about 90 minutes after you wake up, because you have what's called adenosine, is a chemical in our blood. So we want that to build up. That helps with brain focus, things like that. So if we have caffeine, immediately that interferes with that adenosine production. So, yeah, 90 minutes, yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right, so impacts of food on sleep. It does affect what we sleep or how we feel. Things like tryptophan, I'll get into this in the next couple slides. Magnesium, melatonin, those all help relax us. They're precursors to serotonin, which is our feel-good, relax hormone. Magnesium is something that I actually recommend to a lot of people. Most people are deficient in magnesium. You can get that blood work done. It's not a normal thing that your doctor does, but you can ask for it. If you ask for magnesium, I would also look for vitamin D. Those are two very important things. Melatonin is, again, something that our body naturally produces. Melatonin over the counter is often, I want to say it's like 3 milligrams, and it's often higher than what we actually need. So it's 5. Okay. Really? Okay. Okay.
You can find the threes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just really, I stay away from, this is a true story. I was out, a friend invited me to dinner with her, and she had some friends, and they brought some other people, so a lot of us didn't know each other. And I'm sitting at the table, and these two, one saying, oh, I have problems sleeping, and the other one said, oh, I just started taking melatonin, and it was great. And without like a reflex, she picks up her phone, doot, 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 doot. Okay, it'll be here tomorrow. Like orders it on Amazon just like that. And I'm just watching this interaction, and it's just not that, it's not that I want to say the word easy, but melatonin isn't really for everyone. And if you look at lab work, this is another one. People's, zinc will drop. They're like, oh, I'm anemic, I need more zinc. Not necessarily. So so a little bit, kind of along the same lines here. So I use zinc as an example. So Jack and I went to Jamaica last year, and the last day I just was really sick. I was in bed all day. And we're talking to some people at the resort, and Jack's like, Carolyn, like, she won't get out of bed. She's not eating. She da-da-da-da. And this girl's like, does she have a headache? Yeah. She have muscle? Yeah. And the girl's like, she's got dengue fever. And so we're like, what? How do you spell that? So I put it in my phone, came home, and it turns out I did. I got bit by a mosquito. I had dengue fever. So we go to the ER here, and I was just really weak, and I just needed some fluids, but my zinc was rock bottom. Well, I use that example because I know a lot of people would say, oh, I need to supplement, like I need zinc foods, zinc supplements, zinc all this stuff. But because of functional medicine, and I knew what was happening, our bodies are so amazing that when there's stress, my body was like, okay, zinc is technically a heavy metal, so we're going to sequester this for now because we're trying to do all this repair, and we don't want heavy metal circulating because it'll just be damaging. So it just blows my mind. So it's not, I wasn't low in zinc. It's just my body didn't want it circulating in my blood at that time because it had other things to do. So anyway, I use that example just because what works for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean it's across the board a good thing for everyone. Perfect. So here's some things that help with sleep. Obviously, the famous after Thanksgiving dinner, turkey has a lot of tryptophan in it. Nuts and seeds are really good for hormonal balance. Magnesium is great for calming, relaxing muscles. For magnesium, I recommend glycinate. So there's there's definitely there's purpose for each of them, and there's 7, 8, 9 different types of magnesium, and then melatonin. So these are good things. I like to just sometimes clean out my fridge, make a smoothie. Anything green, our liver loves anything green, so that's always a good idea. Foods that disrupt sleep. This is pretty obvious for most people. So caffeine, sugar, alcohol. So, alcohol might seem like it's relaxing, but it really disrupts heart. I see that very clearly in heart rate variability, that people's sleep is not as good as it could be if they have alcohol. If you do want to have a drink, if you can have it earlier in the day, like 6 o'clock, 7, as opposed to 10 or 11, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. I've had alcohol at night, and every time I have alcohol at night, every single time, I wake up 3 to 4 hours later. Every time.
Yeah, that's blood sugar.
Every
Yeah.
single shot.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good amount of REM sleep to get at night?
I would say I'd have to look at my sheet, but I want to say
I use one of those one of those sleep tracker applications, and it tells me that people should be getting like I think around 20% of their sleep of that. And
Of
I
REM?
never get close to that. I get
Yeah.
5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you increase it.
So deep sleep is, so REM is your brain restoring, deep sleep is your body
Rapid eye
restoring.
movement
Yeah.
sleep, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of awake, but you're not.
Yeah, it's the second. So there's light sleep, REM sleep. Can't think of the other one right now, and deep sleep. Deep sleep, in a perfect world, it's 2 hours. That's the metric that has the most weight on how you're feeling the next day, is the deep sleep. So 2 hours is perfect. 2 hours is really hard for people to reach. Like I have clients that I'm happy when they get an hour and 15 minutes of deep throughout the night. We go through that whole cycle is about 90 minutes long. So if you get woken up and you're super groggy, you were probably in deep sleep. So, or if you wake up and you're, by alarm and you're always groggy, if you can either go 15 minutes before, 15 minutes later, and try to catch yourself when you're coming out of that 90-minute cycle, that'll help, make you not as tired. But that deep sleep is really important because we have, as we're sleeping, our brain actually shrinks a little bit. So when we hit that deep sleep, our brain shrinks, and we have our spinal fluid and things washing over our brain and literally washing away plaques that we have through the day, stress, toxins, things like that. So when we start talking about neurocognitive issues later in life, then that's because of plaque buildups and things. So anyway, I like talking about sleep. So, but that's a good question. I will look at the actual ratios of time, because if someone's sleeping, 5 to 7 hours versus 10 hours, let's find the ideal percentage. Okay, if someone's sleeping 6, I want 10% in light sleep and whatever, so. Okay, so we kind of alluded to, blood sugar can disrupt sleep. A lot of times my clients, they'll say, I wake up every night at 2 o'clock to go pee. Well, usually it's cortisol or blood sugar waking you up, and then you're awake, and then you realize, oh, I have to pee, and then you go pee. So something that you could try is, I call it a protein pill. And just before bed, if you have a little bit of protein, so for me personally, I like the smoked salmon at Costco. It's so good. It's very salty. It's really good. You could have an ounce or 2 of that, just on a cracker, or a scoop of peanut butter or something. A little bit of protein can be enough oftentimes to keep your blood sugar stable enough so where you're not waking up throughout the night. So if that is, it could be other things, but that's sort of an easy thing to try. Tips for meal timing. Ideally, I like people to be done eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. That's about the average time it takes for our stomach to empty. And again, if you picture that person with the sympathetic and parasympathetic side, if I go to bed and I have a full stomach, then my body is saying, okay, I can't help you tonight, liver, because I have to digest this steak. So if I go to bed with a full stomach, it takes away resources of things and repair that only happens at night. So at night, our bodies are very busy going through like cleaning out precancerous cells and old red blood cells and just doing a lot of the housekeeping that doesn't get done during the day. So going to bed on an empty stomach allocates those resources to do that cleanup.
So,
Yeah.
you're playing 7:30 to 9:30 p.m.
Okay, I've done it.
and you have to get up for work at 6.
Yeah.
Do you eat your recovery meal when you get home, and then shower and go to bed because you're going to be in bed within an
Get ready for work.
hour?
No, that's a good question.
No, I'm saying PM because now do we skip that meal because we're going to bed soon? But I'm freaking hungry.
Yeah.
So
I've done that. I've done the 8 to 10. I've done the 7:30 to 9:30. When I get home, I can't fall asleep anyway, even if I wanted to. So yes, I will have a small meal. Will I have the chicken and the starch and the everything? Probably not. But I mean, I want to have something in my stomach to, yeah. So, right. Yeah. Okay.
no, when I was your age, I could eat fast food every day and then there was times I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's just it's convenient after the 9:30 one.
I know,
If
it
I'm
is.
at my home, I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, that's really, it's just on the convenience factor. I'm in the same boat. I've got 2 teenagers at home. I work. I want to be here. I want to, and even last night we were here until, I don't know, 9:30. And we had to eat something, and I wasn't going to go home and make, so we picked something up. But it's just trying to get back. And then I go in spurts where I'm like, okay, I'm only going to eat meat, chicken, fish, eggs, fruit, vegetables. And as limiting as that might sound, it's really not. Like, there's a ton that you can choose from if you really focus on that. And then I'll do that, and then I'll say, okay, my breakfast and lunch will be from that category, but dinner, who knows, depending on the night. I mean, it's just trying to be flexible.
yeah, actually, this brings up a good question.
Sure.
You have teenagers.
Yeah.
I have 2 teenagers, and then the 9-year-old who eats like a teenager. If I don't put a starch in the meal, I cannot fill them up. Like, they will eat 6 servings of protein and their veggies, and
Yeah.
they'll still be looking for more. Like,
Yeah.
and I just don't know how to make a meal that doesn't have potatoes or rice with it.
That's
Like,
okay.
Is there something to fill in that gap? that
Yeah,
I'm missing?
well, I mean, typically, so protein is filling, typically. I mean, if you're dealing with like Avon he's somewhere out there. I mean, his metabolism, right? I mean,
I've got one that's built like Avon, and then 2 that are built like linebackers.
okay. Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. So, yeah, protein is really good. It's filling. It keeps you satiated. It keeps your blood sugar balanced. You can typically go, for hours and not feel that slump after eating a good high protein rich meal. The breads, the pastas, which we burn quickly, which is a great pre-workout meal because it goes right to your muscles. So that is what spikes our blood sugar, and then we have that crash and stuff like that. So, but at the same time, right after, that is very filling. Like, if ever you've had several pieces of pizza and you're just like, oh gosh, you know, or a big plate of pasta. It's just like, you feel, you feel heavy, literally heavy.
They almost think that I need that starch to slow them down enough so that they realize that they're full.
Mm-hmm.
Stop eating.
I mean, I think what you're doing is, you know, you want to have that balance because people, and especially my athletes, and it's a protein, like, do we need more protein? Yes. But some people go so overboard that they get full and now they're missing out on like their healthy fats and other nutrients. So having that balance, I think what you're doing is, I wouldn't change it. Yeah, good job, Mom. Okay, so intermittent fasting is kind of, call it time restricted eating. There's a lot of different names out there for it. I am somewhat of a fan. As mentioned earlier, it's important to have breakfast, again, for women as soon as we wake up or shortly after. I think it's better to start earlier in the day and then end earlier at night as opposed to don't eat until 11 and then have your last meal at like 8 p.m. I'd rather have that earlier in the day. Same thing is true when I talk about at night when we're sleeping and our body's restoring. We spend on average about 20% of our resources digesting food because we're sitting around, we're eating all day. We're just snacking, we're eating all day. So there's always food around and it takes up a lot of our body's resources. So by having pockets when we don't eat, it helps stabilize blood sugar. We don't have those spikes I just mentioned, which I'm going to get into inflammation here in a second. But okay. So key takeaways, I don't want to repeat myself. I think we pretty much covered all of these. Avoid large meals. Oh, fiber. I didn't talk much about fiber, but so fiber, ideally, and this is going to sound maybe surprising, we should have 35 grams of fiber a day. Some people have 5 or 6. Across the board, most people aren't eating enough fiber. It's really good for cardiovascular health, keeps things moving. I recommend people just track it, just write on a piece of paper for a few days how much fiber you're getting, like look at the labels, see what you're doing. If you're getting on average 7, 8, 9 grams a day, don't jump to 30 the next day. You're not going to poop for a week if that happens. So you want to slowly increase, slowly build that up. But it is very important. It is very good for gut health. I spend a lot of time talking about like the microbiome and intestinal permeability and the health of that, and the whole mucosa lining is important for nutrient absorption and digestion.
Question regarding the probiotics. I don't like a lot of probiotic type food, like yogurt and things like that. So
Yeah.
should I be? Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. So should I be taking like a probiotic supplement every day, or does it just depend?
I would say that is another good one that is usually good across the board. The only thing I'm careful of with that, my disclaimer is if there's issues with yeast or bacterial overgrowth, typically, some people, like skin or ears or something like that, like then I wouldn't discount a probiotic. I just would really look closely at the ingredients. So, but yeah, so for example, Avon had his wisdom teeth out. They give antibiotics when that surgery happens. Week later, he's like, this hurts, I think it's infected. Take him in, they had to drain it, he had an infection. Another round of antibiotics. A week later, infected again. There was like a bone shard because they had to break up the, So 3rd round of antibiotics, and I'm just like, it's just a bomb going off in your stomach. killing all the good bacteria and the bad. So he's going to be on probiotics for 6 months. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
I like Pure Encapsulations.
Oh, I've heard of that.
That's a
Yeah.
good brand. Yeah. So, and I'm not brand loyal. Like I like Pure Encapsulation, like Thorn, Metagenics. It depends on what I'm looking for. And I get mine off of Full Script because I know that they're good about their distribution and their temperatures, and because specifically probiotics, you had to keep the bacteria alive. So they always send that to me, packed in ice, and it has to stay in the fridge.
So
So.
is that, sorry to keep going about probiotics,
Yeah.
but should all probiotics be put in their fridge, even though some of them are sold on the shelf, like at room temperature, or?
I keep mine in the fridge. I do, yeah. And actually Pendulum has a good, I don't know if you've seen them. Halle Berry is their spokesperson. That's a great product. I like that. Okay. So I don't know how many slides I have left. Okay, I have 6, 7, 8, 9 slides. So factors impacting gut health. Obviously, the stuff at the top, this is, probably you all know this. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Stress really has a strong impact on our gut. There's the brain-gut connection, if you've heard of that, is very real. It's very bilateral. If you ever have had like a super important meeting and that morning of you go to the bathroom 5 times, that's your brain and gut. Like your brain is anxious and your gut is responding. So when you're excited, you have butterflies in your stomach, that's that connection. They talk to each other. Medications, I'm not against antibiotics, even though I had that issue with Avon. I mean, I'm glad that we have them when we need them. Do I think they're grossly overprescribed? Yes, I do. But I'm not anti, doctor, medicine, anything. I think I'm for acute situations for sure. Like we have Motrin at home, Advil at home when we need it. So I'm not like burning feathers or anything. I mean, I don't do that. Okay, so microbiome diversity. Our guts like diversity. So when I go to the grocery store, I just started this like 6 months ago, I buy something new from the produce section that I've never bought before. I challenge you. I guarantee you there's stuff you've never bought before from the produce section. Try it. But your gut likes that. Benefits are improved immunity. Again, because of all that bacteria, the good, the bad, I call them good and bad. They're not bad. They're there for a reason. So if you ever heard of like Candida, H. pylori, like things like that, those are thought of as bad. We don't obviously want a sterile environment. We don't want 100% good. We want a little bit of the bad guys. And if you think about it, like if a teacher is on a playground and there's kids acting up, teacher's watching. If all the kids are perfect, the teacher won't be watching as closely, right? So you want the teacher watching. And in this situation, the teacher is our immune system. So our immune system's main job, most people, I usually ask this question, but in the interest of time, I'll just give you the answer. When I ask what is our immune system's job, people say to fight disease, fight infection, fight. Our immune system's job is to surveil, 99%. So it's constantly surveilling, you're okay, 99.9% of the time, but when it sees something it needs to attack, it can. And then there's different levels of that attack. So when we eat stuff that damages our gut, excess, highly processed foods, things like that, damages the lining, then if you've heard of leaky gut, our gut literally is leaking. There's holes in our gut. So what happens then is food can leak out that's not entirely digested yet. Bad bacteria can come in. So that's when we get this overgrowth. So in that situation, food leaks out, our immune system's surveilling, and it's like, what is that? It's a half broken down carbohydrate that's not supposed to be in the blood. That creates inflammation. So then we have this chronic inflammation. Probiotics, fermented foods, exercise, hydration, consistent habits, all of that help the gut. Probiotics, we kind of talked about this, live bacteria, microorganisms. We can get them through food, we can get them through supplements, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi. That helps with that.
Did you say something about fermented food you want to avoid?
No, they're good. Sauerkraut is good, yeah. Common causes of poor gut health, unhealthy diet, high stress, antibiotics. Managing stress. So just, being mindful, the whole system is actually very delicate. So from our stomach to our small intestine to our colon, if someone tells me about 2 hours after they're done eating, they get bad cramps. That tells me if there's an issue in their small intestine. Because remember earlier, it takes about 2-ish hours on average for the stomach to empty. So now it's in the small intestine. The other thing, if food's not broken down, and our stomach is here. Our stomach isn't up here. It's actually down here. It's below our belly button. If food isn't entirely digested and our gut's not in tip-top shape, then it can be bulkier going through small intestines, and our small intestine does not expand. Our stomach will expand and our colon will expand, but this small intestine will not. Okay, exercise helps with everything. Gut health, reduces inflammation, helps with relaxing. So just things you can do. Again, these are all things that we can do during the day, improve upon to just change the dial. And then the last thing, I think this is the last one, is just in summary, kind of as I mentioned earlier, you have this range of health, and the functional range is much more narrow, right? That I look at and other people in functional medicine. So it's not just like overnight, I got type 2 diabetes overnight, or I got, diagnosed with hypertension. It continues, it can be silent, or it can be obvious with symptoms. And, I focus a lot on gut health. So if someone says, goes to their doctor and says, I have digestive issues, I'm depressed, and I have this rash on my skin. Some doctors might say, go to gastroenterology, go to psychiatry, go to dermatology. So for me, I would say it probably all starts in the gut. That's where I would. Starts in the gut. Yeah. So paying attention to subtle signs, early prevention is really kind of what I focus on. So I went 7 minutes over, but this is, I think this is Instagram. Anastasia's going to help me with my social media. This is, if you scan that, it's like, gives me your, you can say, hey, I'm interested in certain topics. But as I mentioned before, you know, Kristen and Brennan, the owners here, you probably all know them. They're awesome. They are very on board with more of these. So make sure you stop and tell them if you liked it. And if you have certain topics that you want me to talk about, like sleep or liver health or sleep, okay. Or yes, I'll, yeah. So, yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's good. You're welcome. Really good. Oh, good. You're welcome. I'm so happy. All right, let me turn this off.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you